Well, the name is Frank Bisignano. Did I get that right, John, or no? Did I get his name right?
Frank Bisignano?
Bisignano.
Yeah.
I almost gave it a little Spanish flair, Bisignano,
Well,
but it's not
he went
Nano.
by Bizzo when I knew him in the 70s.
So. Well, let's set this story up.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Bisignano is Donald Trump's pick to lead the Social Security Administration. He's found himself on Capitol Hill. He's been getting yelled at by Pocahontas. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yo.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Warren's been screaming at him on Capitol Hill.
Bernie's got a few questions.
Yeah, exactly. So he's getting that kind of a grilling right now. And he is a big Wall Street titan. He's given a lot of money to help get Donald Trump elected. He's been a longtime supporter of the Republican Party. And now he's potentially in line to be the next Social Security Administrator. And John Anthony drops me a little teaser text over the weekend telling me that he has a history with Frank Bisignano.
Yeah, I texted Pete and said, if you like my Ray Liotta story, which is I didn't recognize Ray Liotta when I saw him at a bar one time here in town, then you might like my Frank story. So I go to Baker. It's fall of 78, going into 79. That's era of time. I get to Baker, and my roommate in the dorm, assigned roommate, has not shown up. So I have my own room for a while, but you're supposed to pay extra for that. So eventually I was going to get a roommate one way or the other. Apparently, it just took a while. And I come in one day, it's just like maybe 79, first part of the year, and I got a new roommate. This is Frank Bisignano. Now, lots of people went to Baker with me know Bizzo. He's kind of a character. So people, you know, he was so, what I would say, we're from Kansas. He was very New York City. You know, the whole John Travolta thing, it was the era of Saturday Night Fever, Studio 54, the Yankees.
That would be weird enough or unusual enough in 2025 when the world shrunk. How does a guy from Brooklyn end up at Baker in 79?
Or as he would say, how'd I get over here? No. It's interesting. I have to say, I just spent a semester with him. He's not my buddy or anything, and I'm not trying to big it up like that. In fact, if I went up to saw him face to face, I was telling Pete I'd have to give him probably 7 clues, and I imagine that he might say, "That was you? Get out!" It was just a brief time, but yeah, everybody knew Bizzo in New York. He was such a New York guy. Here in Kansas, we're all farm kids, going, wow.
So Bizzo was your roommate for one semester in the spring of 79.
I think he was living off campus and something happened and they stuck him in the dorm. And so he got stuck in my room. And, I learned things. My appreciation of Billy Joel's Turnstiles
came
CD
from Bizzo?
album. Yeah, he's a connoisseur of Billy Joel. I remember him going to the concert. He was out for several days. I didn't see Frank for 3 days after the Billy Joel show, I think.
Oh, that's amazing.
So he left Baker and went on to Newport. And then I'd seen he was on Wall Street from time to time. I thought, wow, who knew?
Yeah.
And shoot, here he is now.
Here he is now, potentially set to lead the Social Security Administration. Well, we got to get him on the show, John. That's what's got to happen next.
Like I said, if I called and said my name, that was you.
I think we can make this happen.
I don't.
You've got no faith in us, man. You've got no faith in yourself.
Some stories I haven't told where I'm not necessarily wanting to reach out to Frank.
Throw him under the bus?
You don't want to throw him under the bus.
He
may throw me under the bus.
Oh, he would throw you under the bus. Yeah. So do you have the kind of ammunition that Elizabeth Warren would be able to use against Bizzo?
I'll have to check statute of limitations. And beyond that, I'm going to plead the fifth and ask for my attorney present.
Oh, that is so great, man. Mark, aren't you getting a little jealous here? Can you think of whether or not one of your college roommates would ever be someone high up in the federal government one day?
Probably not a roommate. Maybe somebody that went to Mid-America, though, I could see.
You could see someone from Mid-America being high up in a Republican administration someday?
Yeah. We have some good people from Mid-America, so I could see eventually somebody getting there, but not a roommate.
Not a roommate?
Yeah, in January 79, if somebody would have walked into the dorm room at Horn Hall and said, one of you two is going to give the commencement speech in the future, I told Pete, I said, Frank probably would have looked at me and said, what'd you do? No,
Was he a nice guy, though?
Yeah, no. He was one of those people, you could tell he was a people person. He had grown up in Brooklyn in a multi-generational family, and his dad was an orphan, so he was very much about family and people. And, if you were in with Frank, you're in good.
That's great, man. I love this. So Frank Bizzo, as
Yeah, I don't know if he'd appreciate that anymore either.
we should call him that on the show and see if he likes it or not.
Yeah.
That may not go well. Anyway, he started his career in New York City as a VP at Lehman Brothers and worked his way up, held executive positions at Citibank, and then was hired at J.P. Morgan Chase in 2005 under Jamie Dimon, who, of course, remains the CEO there. And then in 2013 became the chairman and CEO of First Data Corporations and worked his way up through the financial sector. He's consistently rated, per his Wikipedia, as one of the highest paid CEOs in the United States. His compensation in 2017, John, New York Times reported, exceeded $100 million.
So he's probably got all the Billy Joel CDs.
You know
no,
what,
I'm
though?
sure. I've got, I know there's some Baker's guys that are people, alumni that went to school when I did that probably have a Frank story or certainly know a Frank.
See, how has Frank not built Baker into a football powerhouse? Now in the NIL world, he could single-handedly fund Baker and make it at least a basketball
Frank
powerhouse.
wasn't a sports guy so much.
Oh,
so,
he wasn't a sports guy?
Not so much,
Okay.
I don't think.
All right. Well, maybe he could get Billy Joel to perform at Baker. Maybe that's what's coming.
That's probably as likely as anything.
Okay. Well, that is amazing. Wow. How about
Yeah,
that?
I was going to say he probably knows Billy pretty well, I would think.
Yeah, well, geez, he's making more money than Billy.
We used to just play it on 8-track, but now he knows Billy.
Maybe we can get McCarthy back to Baker.
Yeah.
He's not coaching with the Cowboys anymore, right?
Is he a Baker guy?
Yeah, he was a Baker guy.
Really?
Yeah, Mike was a tight end at Baker.
How about that? Boy, Baker's got them all. Bizzo, Mike McCarthy, and John Anthony. What more do you need in life? How about
you
that?
got Johnny Rollins. We got a whole crowd.
Jeez, that's strong stuff.
Yep.
Well, you learn something new every day. Bizzo, future guest here on KCMO.